Close your eyes for a moment and just breathe. You have been carrying something today. Maybe it was a small frustration that built up quietly inside you, or maybe it was something bigger, something that has been sitting heavy on your chest for a while now. And tonight, as you lie here in the comfort of your bed, I want you to know something. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are simply human. Tonight, we are going to talk about something that every single person on this earth has felt: anger. That hot, rising feeling that rushes through you when things go wrong. We are going to understand it, gently, slowly, together. And as we do, I want you to let your body sink a little deeper into where you are resting. Let your shoulders drop, let your jaw unclench, and simply listen. There is nothing you need to do right now. Know where you need to be. Just breathe, and let these words wash over you softly, like a quiet river finding its way through still, peaceful land. Let us begin. At the very beginning, think back to the last time you felt angry. Maybe it was today. Maybe it was this week. Maybe it was that moment when someone said something that just didn't sit right. Or when a plan fell apart. Or when you felt unseen, unheard, or simply overlooked by someone who should have known better. Whatever it was, that feeling was real. It was valid. And it had a reason behind it, even if in that moment the reason felt impossible to find. Anger is one of the oldest emotions human beings have ever known. Long before language, long before cities or roads or the sound of cars rushing past your window at night, our ancestors felt anger too. They felt it when something threatened them. When something wasn't fair. When something important to them was being taken away, and that emotion, it kept them alive. So tonight, we are not here to judge anger. We are not here to label it as bad or wrong. We are here to understand it, the way you would gently try to understand a child who is crying but doesn't yet have the words to tell you why. Breathe in slowly, hold it for just a moment. And breathe out, let your legs relax completely. Let the weight of your body rest fully into your mattress, your pillow, your blanket. You are safe here. You are comfortable. And your mind is allowed to slow down now. So, what exactly is anger? At its most simple definition, anger is a natural human emotion. It is a response. A signal. Like the warning light on the dashboard of a car, anger is not the problem itself. It is a message that something else is happening underneath. And this is such an important thing to understand, because most of us were never really taught this. We were taught to manage anger, to control anger, to suppress anger, to apologize for anger. But very few of us were taught to actually listen to anger. To sit with it quietly, and ask it, what are you trying to tell me? Psychologists describe anger as a secondary emotion. Which means, there is almost always something else beneath it. Fear. Hurt. Disappointment. Loneliness. Shame. These emotions live underneath the surface, and when they get too big, too loud, too overwhelming, anger rises up like a wave to cover them. Think of it this way. Imagine a small child who is at a birthday party, and someone accidentally knocks over their birthday cake. The child doesn't cry first. The child screams in anger. They push. They stomp. They might even throw something. But if you look underneath that anger, what is really there? Sadness. Disappointment. A deep aching feeling of something being unfair, something precious being lost. The anger was protecting the sadness. Because sadness felt too vulnerable. Anger, at least, felt powerful, and that is something so many of us carry into adulthood without even realizing it. Breathe out slowly, and let your thoughts drift a little further away. You don't need to hold on to them right now. Just listen. Let us talk about what happens in your body when anger arrives. Because anger is not just a thought or a feeling. Anger is a full physical experience. And when you understand what your body is doing, it becomes so much easier to be gentle with yourself. When something triggers your anger, a tiny part of your brain called the amygdala fires up almost instantly. The amygdala is ancient. It is one of the oldest parts of the human brain. And its only job is to protect you. It is constantly scanning your world and asking one question: am I safe? Am I in danger? And when it decides the answer is danger, even emotional danger, it sends a signal through your body like an alarm. Your adrenal glands release stress hormones. Adrenaline floods your system. Your heart beats faster. Your breathing becomes quicker. Your muscles tighten. Your blood pressure rises. Your body is preparing itself to fight or to run. This is called the fight or flight response. And it is extraordinary. Really. In a world where our ancestors faced lions and sharp rocks and dark forests filled with predators, this response saved lives. It kept the human species alive long enough for you to be here tonight, resting in your bed, listening to these words. But here is the interesting part. Your amygdala does not know the difference between a lion in the jungle and an email from a difficult coworker. It responds to both in almost exactly the same way. It doesn't have the capacity to reason, to think logically, to consider context. It just reacts. Instantly. Powerfully. To protect you, so the next time you feel that rush of heat and frustration, that tightening in your chest, that sudden urge to say something sharp, just know. Your ancient brain is doing its job. It is trying, in its own way, to keep you safe, and that deserves a little compassion, doesn't it? Let your breathing slow down a little more now. Breathe in through your nose, gently, and out through your mouth. With each breath, you are telling your own nervous system, I am safe. I am resting. I am okay. Now, let us talk about why we get angry. The real reasons. The deep ones, because anger rarely comes from nowhere. Even when it seems sudden, even when it catches you completely off guard, there is almost always a root. A story beneath the reaction. One of the most common reasons people get angry is unmet expectations. We all carry around invisible rule books in our minds. Rules about how the world should work, how people should behave, how we ourselves should be treated, how things should go. These rule books were written over years and years of experience, of watching, of being shaped by the people around us and the situations we lived through. And when the world doesn't follow our invisible rules, anger shows up. A friend doesn't text back when you needed them to. A partner forgets something important. A coworker takes credit for your work. A stranger is rude for no reason. A plan falls through at the last minute. None of these things are following the rules. And so, anger steps in, now. The interesting thing is that not everyone gets angry about the same things. One person might feel completely calm when a meeting runs long, while another person feels frustration building from the very first minute past the end time. One person laughs off a rude comment, while another person carries it home with them and feels it burning in their chest hours later. Why is that? Why do different things trigger different people? Because your triggers are personal. They are shaped by your history, by your past experiences, by the things that mattered to you growing up. By the moments when you felt unheard, disrespected, small, or unsafe. If you grew up in a home where your feelings were regularly dismissed, you might find that being ignored or talked over makes you disproportionately angry, because it echoes something old. Something from long ago. Something that once felt very real and very painful. If you grew up around unpredictability, around chaos or instability, you might find that unexpected changes make you anxious first, and then angry. Because that deep part of you is still trying to feel safe. Still trying to control a world that once felt so out of control. Your anger is not random. Your anger has a story, and that is worth sitting with, quietly, softly, in the stillness of tonight. Breathe in, slowly. And breathe out. Let your eyelids feel heavy. Let the tension in your forehead soften. Let your whole face relax, as if it is melting gently into a state of calm. There is something called the anger iceberg. It is one of the most beautiful and simple ways to understand this emotion. Imagine a massive iceberg floating in a cold, still ocean. The part you can see above the water, that is the anger. That is what people observe. The sharp words, the raised voice, the frustration, the withdrawal, the silent treatment of being overlooked or taken for granted. The deep, quiet ache of wanting something and not having it, all of those things live below the surface. And they are the real reasons behind the anger. They are the true story. When someone snaps at you, they are showing you the tip of their iceberg. When you snap at someone, you are showing them yours. This doesn't mean anger gives anyone the right to be hurtful or unkind. That is a separate conversation. But understanding the iceberg changes everything. Because instead of getting lost in the anger itself, you start to gently wonder, what is underneath this? For yourself, and for others, this kind of curiosity is called emotional intelligence. And it is a skill. It is something that grows with practice and patience. It is something that you are already building, simply by being willing to think about these things, to listen, to wonder, and that takes real courage. Quiet, gentle, honest courage. Let your body relax a little deeper now. Feel the softness of your pillow beneath your head. Feel the warmth of your blanket around you. You are exactly where you are supposed to be right now. Let us talk about the difference between healthy anger and unhealthy anger. Because not all anger is the same. Healthy anger is anger that is felt, acknowledged, and expressed in a way that doesn't harm you or anyone else. It is anger that serves a purpose. That points you towards something that needs to change. That motivates you to set a boundary, to have a difficult conversation, to stand up for something that matters. Healthy anger says, this situation is not okay, and I am going to do something about it. It moves through you and then, it lets go. Unhealthy anger is anger that gets stuck. That loops and spirals. That leaks out sideways into relationships and conversations that have nothing to do with the original wound. That gets turned inward into self-criticism and shame. Or that explodes outward in ways that cause real damage. Unhealthy anger often happens when we don't know what to do with what we are feeling. When the emotion is too big, and we don't have the tools to process it. When we were never taught, growing up, that it was safe to feel things fully. A lot of people learned one of two lessons about anger as children. Some learned that anger was dangerous, that it destroyed things, that it needed to be avoided at all costs. So they learned to suppress it, to push it down, to smile when they were hurting, to keep the peace no matter what the cost to themselves. And others learned that anger was the only language that got results. That you had to be loud to be heard. That softness was weakness. That expressing any vulnerability was unsafe. Neither of these lessons was true. but they felt true. And they shaped the way you respond to anger even today. Can you think about which pattern feels more familiar to you? No need to answer right now. Just let the question sit gently in your mind, like a leaf settling slowly onto the surface of still water, and breathe. Your breathing is slowing down now. Your thoughts are becoming quieter. The weight of the day is beginning to soften. And that is exactly right. Let us continue our journey together, moving gently, slowly, through the quiet landscape of your emotions. We have talked about what anger is. We have talked about what happens in your body. We have talked about the iceberg. Now let us talk about something a little different. Let us talk about the things that make anger worse. The conditions that pour fuel onto an already lit flame. The first one is exhaustion. When you are tired, genuinely, deeply tired, your ability to regulate your emotions drops significantly. The part of your brain responsible for rational thinking and emotional regulation is called the prefrontal cortex. And when you are sleep deprived or mentally depleted, this part of your brain doesn't work as well. The amygdala, that ancient alarm system we talked about, gets louder, more reactive, more sensitive. This is why things that wouldn't normally bother you feel unbearable when you are exhausted. This is why small inconveniences feel enormous. This is why you might say something you later regret after a long, draining day. Your nervous system is doing its best. But it needs rest. It needs recovery. It needs nights like tonight, where you allow yourself to be still. The second thing that makes anger worse is hunger. And this is more than just a joke. When your blood sugar drops, your brain has less energy to manage complex emotional responses. You become more irritable, more sensitive, more reactive. It is one of the most physical connections between your body and your emotions. Your brain needs fuel to function. And without it, the emotional regulation systems are some of the first things to go. The third thing is stress accumulation. When stress builds up over days, weeks, or months, your threshold for anger drops lower and lower. Things that you might normally handle with grace start to feel like too much. Like the last drop in an already full glass. When life has been demanding for a long time, it is completely natural to find yourself more easily triggered than usual. It doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means you have been carrying a lot. And carrying a lot is exhausting. And the fourth thing is unresolved emotion. When you have feelings that have been sitting untouched for a long time, they don't disappear. They accumulate. They build pressure. And eventually, they look for a way out. Often, that way out is anger. Sometimes it arrives out of what seems like nowhere. Triggered by something small that has nothing to do with what is really bothering you, the cup overflows. And then everyone wonders why, because all they saw was the last drop. Breathe in slowly, and breathe out. Let yourself feel the stillness of this room. The quiet that surrounds you. You are here. You are resting. And your emotions are allowed to settle now, like snow slowly drifting down through cold, clear air. Now, let us turn towards something that might surprise you. Anger has gifts, yes. You heard that right. Beneath all of the difficulty, beneath all of the ways it can hurt or damage or complicate things, anger carries within it some genuinely valuable qualities. The first gift of anger is energy. When you feel anger, your body is flooded with adrenaline, with cortisol, with a kind of biochemical electricity that makes you feel alive and alert. This energy, channeled in a constructive direction, can be incredibly powerful. Many of the greatest changes in human history were born from righteous anger. From people who looked at something unjust, something wrong, something unfair, and refused to simply accept it. They took the fire of their anger and used it to build something, to change something, to demand something better. Civil rights movements, environmental activism, social reform, advocacy for the voiceless. So much of it begins with someone who was angry enough to act. Angry enough to say, "This is not acceptable. Things need to change." Anger can be a compass, pointing you toward your deepest values. The things you get most angry about are often the things you care most deeply about. If betrayal makes you furious, it is because loyalty matters profoundly to you. If injustice fills you with rage, it is because fairness is at the core of who you are. If being disrespected sets you off, it is because your dignity, your sense of self, is something you hold precious. So while anger can certainly cause harm when it is unmanaged and unexamined, it can also be a doorway. A doorway into understanding yourself more deeply, into knowing what you stand for, into discovering what kind of world you want to live in, and what kind of person you want to be. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, let your whole chest soften. Let the muscles around your heart unwind. Let yourself feel the gentle, safe stillness of this moment. Somewhere in the distance, there might be a sound. Maybe the quiet hum of the night outside. A breeze. The soft rhythm of someone breathing near you. Or just the beautiful silence of a world slowing down. You are still here, listening. And that is more than enough. Let us talk now about emotions more broadly. Because anger does not exist in isolation. It lives inside a whole landscape of feelings that move through us every day. Emotions are information. Every single one of them. Not just the comfortable, pleasant ones. Not just joy and peace and love. But also the difficult, uncomfortable ones. Fear. Grief. Shame. Jealousy, loneliness. They all carry messages. They are all trying to tell you something. The problem is that many of us were taught, from a very young age, to sort our emotions into two categories: good feelings and bad feelings. The good ones, we were allowed to express. To feel it in your body. To name it. To trace it back to where it came from, and this is called emotional awareness. And it sounds more complicated than it is. Because at its heart, it is just paying attention. With kindness and curiosity, instead of judgment. When something feels bad, instead of immediately reacting or immediately pushing it away, you pause for just a moment, and you ask, what am I actually feeling right now? Not just on the surface, but underneath. What is this really about? This simple practice, done again and again over time, changes everything. It changes the way you relate to yourself. It changes the way you relate to the people around you. It changes the quality of your relationships, your conversations, your decisions. Because when you understand your own emotions, you are no longer at their mercy. You are not driven blindly by them. You are in a conversation with them. You are the one holding the map. Breathe in deeply, and breathe out slowly. Let your legs feel heavy and still. Let your arms go completely soft. Let everything that doesn't need to be held tonight simply fall away. Let us now move into something even softer, even quieter. One of the most powerful things you can do for your emotional life is to practice what is called the pause. The pause is the space between feeling something and reacting to it. It is a sliver of time, sometimes just a few seconds, that can completely change the outcome of a situation. Because in that pause, you have a choice. And choice is one of the most powerful things a human being possesses. In that pause, you might take one deep breath. You might count slowly to 10. You might notice what your body is feeling, where the tension is sitting, how fast your heart is beating. You might ask yourself, what do I actually want to happen here? What is the most important thing to me right now? And from that quiet moment of awareness, you can choose a response. Instead of just having a reaction is automatic. A response is intentional. This does not mean suppressing your feelings. It does not mean being cold or disconnected. It means taking your emotions seriously enough to hear them fully before deciding what to do with them. The pause takes practice. Especially in the heat of an angry moment, when everything in you wants to just say something, do something, release the pressure that has been building. But with time and with patience, the pause becomes more natural, more instinctive. Like a muscle that gets stronger every time you use it, and even 1 second of pause is more than nothing. Even one breath is something. Even just the awareness that you are feeling something strongly, that alone is a beginning. You are doing better than you think. You really are. Let your breathing become very slow now. Very easy. Like the gentle rise and fall of ocean waves on a perfectly calm night. In and out. In and out. There is a concept in psychology called the window of tolerance. And it is something that might help you understand yourself in a very gentle, compassionate way. The window of tolerance is the zone in which you can experience emotions without being overwhelmed by them. When you are inside your window, you can feel things, even difficult things, and still remain present, thinking clearly, able to connect with others. When something pushes you outside your window on one side, you become activated, hyper-aroused, angry, panicked, frantic, overwhelmed. Everything feels urgent and too loud and too much. When something pushes you outside your window on the other side, you become shut down, hypoaroused, numb, disconnected, flat, withdrawn. You stop feeling things, because feeling things has become too overwhelming. Both of these responses are normal. Both of them are your nervous system doing its best to protect you from something that feels like more than you can handle. And the beautiful thing is that the window of tolerance can grow. With practice, with care, with gentleness toward yourself, with the right support, with healing. The more you learn to recognize where you are and gently return yourself to your center, the wider that window becomes. And the more of life you can experience with openness and presence, without being knocked sideways by it. This is the work of emotional health. Not perfection. Not the absence of difficult feelings. But a growing capacity to be with yourself and with your emotions, without being destroyed by them. And tonight, as you rest here, you are already doing something important for your nervous system. You are giving it safety. You are giving it stillness. You are letting it recover from whatever the day required of you. Rest is not laziness. Rest is essential. Rest is how you become more of who you actually are. Breathe out, very slowly. And let yourself sink just a little deeper into the softness surrounding you. You are getting sleepier now. The thoughts are becoming slower, more gentle. Like boats drifting quietly on still water, further and further from shore. Let us continue, softly. Let us talk about forgiveness. Not because forgiving is easy. Not because it means what happened was okay. But because forgiveness, in its truest form, is something you do for yourself. Anger and unforgiveness are deeply connected. Holding on to anger at someone who hurt you can feel like justice. It can feel like you are protecting yourself by refusing to let them off the hook, by holding them accountable with your resentment, but the person who carries the weight of that anger is you. They move through their days, perhaps without even thinking about it. And you carry it. In your chest. In your sleep. In your quiet moments. The author Anne Lamott once wrote that not forgiving someone is like drinking rat poison and waiting for the rat to die. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean trusting someone who broke your trust. It doesn't mean allowing someone back into your life who caused you harm. It doesn't even mean the anger goes away immediately or all at once. It means, over time, slowly, gently choosing to set down the weight. To stop letting what happened define your present. To stop giving that person, that situation, that wound, so much of your precious energy. Forgiveness is one of the most difficult and most liberating things a human being can do. And it is rarely a single moment. It is usually a slow, winding process. 2 steps forward and 1 step back. A practice, not a destination, and if you are holding anger tonight towards someone or something, you don't need to resolve it all right now. You don't need to force anything. You just need to rest.